Welcome back. We are now going to give each candidate an opportunity to ask their opponent one question who will have 1 minute to answer. And I have the option to grant 30-second rebuttals as we've been doing through this entire process. As a result of our drawing, Darren White will ask his question first.
Thank you, Doug. Mayor, can you tell the taxpayers that you have spent their tax dollars wisely and that the programs that you have enacted have been effective?
1 minute.
I can. When I look at what we've done with the city budget, first and foremost, we have actually paid folks what they deserve to be paid. And when I say folks, I mean our police department, which finally now has competitive salaries across the state. Our fire department, same thing. All of city government had been deprived of appropriate wages and funding. And so now we've worked hard to fix that. We also created an entire new department, the Community Safety Department, a department of social workers, that's taken 120,000 calls that APD didn't have to take. All of that costs money when you create a new department. And that's what we've invested in. We've invested in literally trying to help our homeless find help off the street. That's the Community Safety Department. We've invested in the city's first ever system to actually help the unhoused, the Gateway system. And we've invested in crime fighting. Almost $100 million in crime fighting technology and in funding our officers and increasing the ranks by 20%. That's money well worth.
Thank you, Mayor. Now your question to Mr. White.
My question is, do you support Donald Trump? And which of his policies do you oppose and which do you maybe agree with?
Sure. Mayor, I love the fact that you are so desperate to cling on to power that you will say absolutely anything, including attaching labels to me that you know are not true. I have been very critical of President Trump. Hell, it's been in the newspapers. You know that in my life and in politics, I have been fiercely independent. And that's the way that I will lead. You have to result to Donald Trump because you know your record is that of failure. When you can't run on solutions, you have to run on something else. The mayor has chosen Donald Trump. Don't believe anything the mayor tells you. Nothing that he tells you is the truth because he's been saying the same thing over and over again for 8 years. But I will be fiercely independent in the way I lead.
Our next question comes from Shelley Rabenda.
On that one.
Because we've gone back and forth already on the failure topic, we've already gone through that, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Shelley, you have our next question.
Do you believe more low-income housing is the answer to the city's homeless problem, and give reasons either way?
Mr. Kelly, you go first.
Well, I have to just acknowledge that Darren didn't answer any of that question directly. That was the most political answer I have seen from a politician, which he is, because he's actually run for 4 different political offices. He's run for more offices than I have. And so to tell you that this is about me or power or something like that, it's not. It's about him trying to salvage a political career that's riddled with scandal and ineffectiveness. And so he wants back in, and it's wrong for our city. And housing is a good example of that. We have a 20,000 unit housing shortage, and I've added 5,000 to that housing shortage, but we have to continue doing that. That's why I'm transforming things like the San Mateo office building on Central and things like the Wells Fargo building into housing. That's why we're shutting down crime-ridden hotels, and we're actually converting those into housing because it's absolutely a cause of so much, whether it's crime, whether it's homelessness, or whether it's poverty. Housing is the answer to multiple challenges in our city.
Thank you. Mr. White, you also have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you, Doug. Affordability absolutely is the issue. There are many people in our city who are being priced out of the market, and we need to address that. But let's talk about the homeless problem. The mayor has said that he's going to do the same exact thing he's been doing for years. The homeless population has doubled in the last few years. Now, the mayor also says that 80% of the people who are homeless on our streets, they don't want help, even though we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this problem. So we offer already shelter. The mayor has talked about it numerously. Shelter, short-term housing, medium-term housing. The homeless most of them don't want the help. They want to be left alone to do what they do. Most of the time it's panhandle and buy drugs, buy alcohol. And you know what? For the most part, the mayor's let them do whatever the hell they want. And so why would they want any help? They get to live the life that they choose. As far as the affordability goes with housing, yes, we have to address
Time
that.
is up, Mr. White. Mr. Mayor, would you like 30 seconds on whether your policy has been a failure and you'll do the same thing?
Well, what we see here is more of Darren talking about the problem. He has articulated challenges around crime and homelessness this entire debate so far, and he hasn't said a single answer. Because we've heard his answer before. It's to arrest. And that's what's wrong. That's his only answer to all of our problems, is to arrest. Homelessness, you name it, immigrants, and he's really trying hard not to tell you that. He's just talking about the problem.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Turning now to the local economy, Bob Clark has our next question. Bob.
A Sunday editorial by the Albuquerque Journal referred to a recent survey done by the Economic Forum of Albuquerque, and the most common answer described our local economy as just fair. Additionally, more than a third of residents and nearly half of business owners said they are not confident in our current economy. As mayor, what would you do to restore confidence that Albuquerque is a good place to do business and to grow business?
Mr. White, you go first.
Thank you, Bob. I read that article. In fact, I sent it to many of my friends because that editorial was a clarion call for help. Add to the list of many of the mayor's failures is now, for the first time in, well, I can remember, our city is losing population. The city that was so robust and steady, known for our exploding population, is losing population. And we know why. Because crime and homelessness are destroying our city. People are becoming so frustrated that they're just giving up. Now let's look at Rio Rancho and the surrounding area. In that article, it said that their populations are increasing. Rio Rancho, 10%. We need to be very careful the way we approach this issue, because we have to do a better job locally by cleaning up and tackling the crime and the homelessness, or we're going to start to lose more people, more jobs, and more businesses.
Mr. Kelly, you also have 1 minute.
Well, here again, we see the same answer to every question, which is crime. The question was about the economy and jobs, and obviously they're related in some way. But as mayor, you also have to have a vision for economic development. And that's what I bring to the table. We have brought Netflix here, the North American headquarters, that has created thousands of jobs. We just announced that Pacific Fusion is moving here, which is going to create another 300 plus jobs and $500 million in investment. And the reason why is because I believe in betting on the future of our city. And the future of our city is really tied to innovative technology. It is esoteric things like quantum computing and fusion energy. But these are the things that are literally going to power America and the world going forward. And we have a chance in Albuquerque to lead that effort. And so I understand that maybe the jobs that we're creating have led to population growth in the suburbs, but the jobs are still here. It is Albuquerque that's lifting up everyone around us, not the other way around.
Thank you. Dan Boyd, you have our next question.
Sticking with the issue of the economy, the city of Santa Fe recently moved to increase its living wage to $17.50 per hour, while Albuquerque's prevailing wage is the state minimum wage of $12 per hour. Would you support or oppose increasing the city's minimum wage, and by how much if you do support such a change?
Mayor Kelly, you go first.
You know, I have proposed increasing our minimum wage because our city minimum wage is actually behind the state minimum wage. And so we have an indexed minimum wage, and I actually like that, but you have to gross it up to catch up with the state. So the city does have a lot of policy work to do with respect to minimum wage. And at the bottom line is that's what we need to be doing. We need to be lifting up our small businesses and folks who are hardworking each and every day, whether it's folks in union work or whether it's folks even just working at restaurants and tipped wages. We absolutely have to increase that. And so that's part of a policy to help lift up our whole economy for everyone. And that's also a piece of what we have to do to make sure that we grow our small businesses going forward, because we need workforce. Workforce is one of our biggest challenges. And one way that you grow the workforce is making sure that the minimum wage will support more folks moving into Albuquerque.
Thank you. Mr. White, you also have 1 minute.
I do support increasing our wages. We can do that by growing jobs and attracting new businesses. But we have to be very, very careful when we talk about this issue of increasing the minimum wage right now. Why? Because our small businesses, something the mayor doesn't like to talk about. He likes to talk about quantum and other things. He doesn't talk about small businesses. 2/3 of all the jobs in our community, they're from small businesses. And they are crumbling over the weight because of the weight of crime and homelessness. They're having to pay for security that they never had to pay for before. They are seeing their insurance premiums skyrocket. I've known one business that was paying $38,000 a year 6 years ago. is paying $132,000 in insurance. That just doesn't work. We also need to make sure that those surrounding areas as well are also competitive and that there's some type of consistency. If we increase our minimum wage and Rio Rancho and maybe Los Lunas and Belen don't.
Time is up, Mr. White. Shelley Ribando has our next question. Go ahead, please.
The state has considered moving the state fairgrounds out of the city. As mayor, will you support the move or fight it?
Mr. White, you go first.
Yeah. Last week, the governor's economic development advisor did a presentation before the Board of Finance. And before he started it, he said, let me give you a recent plan that was put in front of me about crime. It was given to him by the APD commander from that area. And what he said, in the last 2 years around the state fair, last 2 years, there have been 46 homicides. There have been over 150 kidnappings. He also said there have been 29,000 people charged with crimes. He went on to say, within that same 4-block radius, the ShotSpotter detection system, in the last 2 years, 1 month, 400 detections. And he said the average is between 100 and 300. I agree with the former mayor, Marty Chavez, when he said that area around the state fair is a cesspool. We need to save our state fair, and I will absolutely do that. It's a gem. We all love it. It's created
Time is
memories,
up.
and I will
Mr.
keep
Keller, you also have 1 minute.
Well, the last question before this was about wages, and this question was about the state fair, and Darren's answer to both was to complain about crime. He also talked about ShotSpotter, which I put in as part of my crime fighting technology package. But I think what's so disappointing in what you said was also the derogatory terminology of the International District. Darren, people live there. There are kids there. Many of our families, including mine, have lived in and out of the International District. It may have crime challenges, but nowhere in our city is a cesspool. I don't shame our city or parts of our city. I try and help our city. I try and lift up our city. I try and celebrate what's good, and I try and fix what's bad. That's what we need, and that's what the state fair is also about. I think the state fair should stay, but I do think we should develop the corners of the state fair, because it's like a rectangular sort of shaped property, and those corners can be housing and mixed-use development that does lift up the area.
Thank you. Bob Clark, you have our next question.
Can I get a rebuttal real quick on this?
There's
Please.
really
Real quick.
no reason for it. I mean, he said your answers were about crime and homelessness. We can
Well,
go back and play the tape.
It was the former mayor that called it a cesspool. I just
understand that. He didn't say that you
Okay.
did, so
All right.
go ahead,
Okay.
Bob.
All right, now for more general questions and revisiting previous topics as we move on here. If elected, and we all know one of you will be sworn in as the next mayor of Albuquerque on January 1st, so what would you prioritize your very first week of the next term after being sworn in?
Mr. Keller, you go first.
Well, we're going to try and make sure, number one, that that's the middle of winter. And so we got to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help our unhoused and make sure that they're getting into shelter, and that we're also doing what we can to get them off the street. That also means we've got to crack down on the people who are preying upon them. That is the drug dealers and it's the traffickers. And that's why we're setting up a focus to actually try and get folks into jail who are committing those dangerous, terrible crimes, like selling drugs and trafficking people. That's what we're going to focus on with respect to both crime and the unhoused. But we've also got to make sure we're getting back to our placemaking efforts, whether it's things like building our soccer stadium for the United, or it's finishing the film academy at the CNM rail yards, or it's continuing to revitalize downtown. These are the things that are built environment projects that are all in the queue, and I'm going to see them through in my next term.
Thank you. Mr. White, you have a minute as well.
Thank you, Doug. The tent cities, they will come down on day one, as I've said time and time again. I will also start that search for the chief of police and start a new path forward for our department. I will also eliminate the 200 plus jobs that the mayor has created, political jobs, political patronage jobs. Over 50 of those jobs pay over $100,000 a year. That will end on day one. What I will also do is I will release the 6 investigations by a watchdog group, an inspector general, that is being covered up by this mayor and the administration, because the public has a right to know. We need transparency when it comes to these investigations. And isn't it interesting that they're not being released before the election? It's not interesting. It was by design.
Mr. Mayor, 30-second rebuttal on those jobs in question.
Well, there's a lot in there. Those 200 jobs are literally social workers, and they're early childhood workers who take care of our kids. So I am not cutting them. And day one, if you do what you're going to say day one, Darren, on day one, which I know you love, think about what that means. It's freezing outside. We're going to have thousands of homeless freezing. It's going to be a mass casualty event. There isn't even enough jail space to put them in jail like you want to do. That is a terrible, dangerous idea that will only lead to more problems literally the next day. That's what you bring day one.
Mr. White, 30-second rebuttal. Are these social jobs? Social services jobs?
No, they're political patronage jobs. And as I said, 50 of them, they pay over $100,000 a year. And so, again, the mayor's going to say anything. He is so desperate to cling to power that he just sits here and tells you the same thing over and over again. And just because you do it 10 times, it doesn't mean it's the truth.
Our next question comes from Dan Boyd. Dan.
In the November election, neither of you got a majority of votes, meaning most voters chose someone other than you. What do you think is the biggest reservation voters have about you, and how do you address their concerns?
Mr. White, you go first.
Thanks, Doug. Well, you know, Doug, it's actually been 17 years since I ran for office. And let me just correct what the mayor said, that I have run for more offices than him. No. In the last 17 years, this is the 6th time that the mayor has run for office when I've been out in the private sector operating small businesses. And so that is just ridiculous. Let me also say that the mayor has spent over $1 million. He's received over $1 million, and he'll spend it, of taxpayer-funded campaign dollars. And he did that, outspent all of us 3-1, and still 2/3 of the voters said, no, we want change. We want somebody else to be the mayor. So I will tell you, this election, December 9th, is a referendum. It's a referendum on whether the mayor should get a 3rd term and whether we deserve change.
Mr. Mayor, you also have a minute.
Well, I'm not sure this public office question, Darren. You ran for 4 offices: House Rep, Congress, Sheriff, and now Mayor. And I've only run for 3. So, you know, here again, like you can say what you want people to believe, but it's just not true. And you can't rewrite your own biography. You know, yeah, you worked in small business when, you know, you first disowned and said, I'd never work for anyone who doesn't believe in selling, in legalizing marijuana. And then you turned around and worked in a marijuana company. So, you know, you just can't have it both ways. That's why there's a real lack of credibility here. What I bring to the table, I know folks want to see more progress, but I also know that they see me working very hard every day on real solutions that will actually help us generations to come. That's what our homelessness system is about. That's what rebuilding APD is about. That's what placemaking all over our city is about. And that's why people, I believe, are going to stick with what's working going forward instead of throwing back to your old failed policies.
Thank you. Our Partners for Impact mayoral debate will return in just a moment. Stay with us.